A lot of people will do things like deadlifts for strengthening this region of the lower back to protect the lower back, and that's fine, that's fantastic. But how do you know when the pain in your back is okay? And how do you know when it's something that you need to back off those deadlifts? So there's a few indicators that you can have. Number one is that, are you working at a maximal level, i.e. you're pushing the boundaries of your PBs, you're working at 1 or 2 rep maxes. Those sorts of ranges, you're more likely to get a different type of back pain. You're more likely to get that deeper back pain, more local in and around this section of the spine. And just for reference, if you think your waistband of your trousers is generally going to be around about here. So you get that deep central pain quite often when you're doing those heavier weights, and that might be a sign that you've pushed it a little bit too far, too hard, too fast. Another cue is, how do you feel in the 1 or 2 days afterwards? Having a little bit of discomfort similar to the delayed onset muscle soreness in the lower back region, more broad around this area, is okay. That's a normal consequence of training. But when you are training in those sort of nearly maximal lift ranges, you do want to be a little bit more careful of that sort of pain. The other pain that's a bit more common, and this is very, very less likely to be serious in terms of the context of the spine itself, is when you're doing that 15-20 reps. Now, let's assume for a moment you're doing good form, because if you're not doing good form, then you probably are doing some damage. But that general ache across the lower back, the back pump, if you will, it's just blood flooding into these muscles and making it stiff. And you kind of walk around like you're waddling a little bit afterwards, and there's that general ache and stiffness in this region of the back. And that's just because you're working those muscles and you're pumping blood into them and they're working hard. That is not a problem. And it'll be more broad around here, and you'll kind of feel like your back's being stuck like that because the muscles are so taut. That is okay, and you don't need to worry about that. It should calm down. Maybe you might have a little delayed onset muscle soreness if you're working at a sort of a PB, in terms of maybe you're doing 3 sets of 15 reps, and last time you did 3 sets of 12 reps, so you're pushing it a little bit harder, but you're doing it in a somewhat sub-maximal way. That's going to be okay. Watch out more so when you're pushing the weights and doing those 1 or 2 reps, because that's where your form goes out the window and you're going to get some of that more deeper spinal type pain. In short though, when you are doing deadlifts, pay attention to how you are the next day. Slowly lift your weights and just pay attention to that next day. Is the back pain that you're experiencing somewhat muscular, and is it going after 1 or 2 days? If yes, that's perfectly fine. One thing that I would suggest for everyone, if they are serious about training, is get your spine checked anyway at some point, just to check, is it normal, is it fundamentally normal? Perhaps have a session with a PT just once to evaluate your technique on the deadlift, because you wouldn't believe the number of people I see doing deadlifts in the gym, and I think, man, in a second their disc is going to fly out across the gym and hit that guy doing bench press in the eye, because their form is that awful and they're doing loads and loads of reps. So be very careful about your form. Make sure you're not doing something very silly. But in short, stick to the lower weights, and that general ache is generally okay. One final thing, just as a little tip to limit your progress on the deadlifts, do double arm over grip. So hold the bar like that, because this is a really good built-in control mechanism in your body that your hands will give out before your back does, because they are generally weaker. And if you're doing a double arm over grip, there's 2 benefits. Number one, you're going to lose grip on the bar before your back fails, so it's going to train your grip here, and it's kind of a safety mechanism. And number 2, doing a double over arm grip is symmetrical. It means your lats, your lower back muscles, your glutes, your hamstrings, everything's going to be pulling in a balanced manner, rather than doing a split grip. That is going to twist you a little bit. It does twist you, even though it's done quite often. It's done to lift heavy weight, not to lift symmetrically and lift in a balanced way. So try that double over arm grip. It'll limit you from overdoing the work on your back and work your grip, and it's more symmetrical as well.